A public or royal connection doesn't make a man safe. It actually just makes people more willing to protect his image. And that's the part that I want so many women to sit with. Marius Borg Høiby is the son of Norway's crown princess Mette Marit and the stepson of Crown Prince Haakon. Hopefully I didn't butcher any of the names. But this guy is not a prince. He doesn't even hold a royal title, but he is connected to one of the most visible families in Norway. And now he's been sentenced to 4 years in prisons after convictions that include R-word, domestic abuse, assault, and other charges. Now, he has denied the most serious allegations. He plans to appeal. So yes, there's a legal process, there's public scrutiny, there's an appeal. Also, this gives us a very important conversation because when a man is connected to status and family, image, power, wealth, royalty, fame, religion, politics, business, celebrity, respectability, people often really struggle to see this man as dangerous, and we see it all the time. They struggle to believe the woman. They struggle to imagine that someone with that kind of background, that kind of access, that kind of image would ever behave that way. And it makes us all shift the conversation into maybe the woman lied because insert excuse here instead of did this man abuse his power? Abuse doesn't have to have one kind of face. It doesn't live in one kind of neighborhood, and it doesn't take a certain kind of man. Status doesn't make a man safe. What people think of a man, if they think that he's a good man, it doesn't make him a good man. Sometimes status and the nice guy actually just gives a man like this a better camouflage. So I'm going to talk about the Marius Borg Høiby case, while royal celebrity adjacent can still abuse people, and how powerful families and respectable images actually shape public perception, and why women have to stop mistaking proximity to prestige for some evidence of a man's character. My name is Lisa Sonni. I'm a certified relationship coach, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I've written 5 books, and I travel the world to speak on domestic violence, personality disorders, and the patriarchy. I work with women to help them exit toxic and abusive relationships and to rebuild their lives after they've left. Now, this case matters because the image around him. This guy is not just some random man in public imagination. He is actually connected to a Norwegian royal family, right? His mother is a crown princess. His stepfather is the crown prince. And that connection changes how the public looks at him. Because even without a royal title himself, he has the glow of the institution that is around him. People see the family and the palace and these public appearances, and we all know what a royal family is supposed to look like and supposed to feel like, right? The national symbolism. And that makes it harder for people to process abuse allegations in their mind because it doesn't make sense, right? For the behavior that's being described and the image that you thought you had. But this is why the conversation matters. Because status doesn't equal safety no more than the nice neighborhood guy or the pastor or the sports coach is safe just because of who they are in the community. This is one of the biggest friggin' lies that women are taught without anyone even saying it, right? He comes from a good family, right? He's got money, he's educated, he's charming, he's respected, and he has access to important people. So of course he looks polished or his family looks polished or his public life might look impressive. Not a damn thing I just said makes him safe in private or that he understands consent or that he respects women or that he's not a domestic abuser. Status can only tell you where this guy sits socially. And often these men are using where they sit socially to get away with the very behavior that I'm describing. Because now he has power over women and no one's going to say anything to him. Respectability is one of the best covers that an abuser has. Because people have this vision, right? When you look at an abusive man, if you Google abusive man, it's going to be an angry man yelling. And if even the trope of an undershirt, right, called a wife beater, that is what we see. We see a blue collar man. We see him screaming. We see him drunk. We see ugly, sloppy, socially rejected or visibly cruel. We think it's so easy to spot. How convenient, right? How adorable that we think that's what it is. Abuse would actually be a hell of a lot easier if it showed up in a friggin' name tag, if it showed up in a way that we could all understand exactly what it looks like. I've been advocating for years for these abusive men to all wear matching hats, but they seem to refuse, right? Almost like they want to get away with it. Most abusive men look very respectable. They have good jobs, nice families, right? They go to church. They have public charm. They have social status. They have credibility, impressive friends, whatever, okay? But respectability is now their shield because people confuse the respectability that it looks like and they think that that means something. You're telling yourself that it must mean he would never, but we're so quick to say she would lie, but we're not quick to say, well, what if he's actually abusive and she's not lying? And any woman with a rich husband or a rich ex-husband knows that powerful families can absolutely shape the room, right? They don't have to openly threaten anyone to shape the perception of the people around them. Their presence alone can truly change the atmosphere. People know, right? If you are married to someone or in a relationship with someone who has wealth, who has power, or his family does, you understand it. Because now suddenly friends are conflicted and victims are the ones being scrutinized because everybody knows the stakes are higher. The accused is not just a man. He's someone's son. He's someone famous's son. And that matters all of a sudden, right? He is someone whose behavior can embarrass a family or a brand or a church or a government. And so when a man's image is attached to this larger system, the system is going to friggin' protect itself. Sometimes very loudly, sometimes through quiet, sometimes through money or hush money, right? Victims are judged so much harder when the guy has a good image. So a lot of abusers will create this good image and benefit from the good image. And it's one of the ugliest parts because the more respectable and kind the guy looks, the more people question her, right? Maybe she wanted attention. Maybe she misunderstood. She must be exaggerating. I bet she has an agenda. She probably just wanted money. That's one of the most common things, right? She just wanted fame. Yeah, she wanted the fame of being branded a liar in the media from the entire world. People need to really realize, and I actually recorded a podcast episode on this. It was such an interesting episode where we broke down how people think that people lie, women lie, to make up that the abuse happened, but actually women who claim abuse are treated much worse than the perpetrators of abuse themselves. We act like women are gaining something from lying when the truth is their reputations are dragged through the mud. And a guy like this, his image is his best defense. Me? I would never, right? So her existence is now suspicious. And she has to argue against his reputation, not just him as a person. That is a much harder fight. And anyone who's done it knows, right? Now, a lot of people will say, hey, he has everything to lose, right? He wouldn't do that. Think of how he has so much to lose. Why would he do that knowing what the cost could be? But I think many men with everything to lose still do harm because you think entitlement disappears just because a man has something to lose? The power makes him think he'd never lose it. I would argue it feeds it. A guy like this has had people cleaning up his messes for years. He's never had to face accountability. So he had everything to lose isn't proof that he didn't do it. I think it's proof that he believed he could survive it, that he could get away with it. A man can be incredibly charming in public, right? And extremely cruel in private. This is what we know about covert abusers. This guy's funny at dinner and he'll do anything for the neighbors and he'd give you his shirt off his back. He's funny and kind and magnetic. He's kind to strangers. He can cry in court. He can look nervous and soft and he can beat his wife. He can look all of those things and he can privately be an abuser behind closed doors. And none of the things that are happening publicly erase what he does privately. People seem to want a very consistent character. You want this guy that's like a monster all the time, a villain all the time, because then it's obvious. Then we can all go, okay, fine, that's an outlier. Instead of looking at how many men are monsters that are hiding in plain sight. We talk about monsters in the closet and we don't talk about monsters hiding in our beds. Obvious danger is not how most abusive men operate. Public charm and private harm lives in the same man, and women know this. We have been saying this, we have been screaming this from the rooftops, but we all keep pretending publicly like this is new information. Now, this is so much bigger than this one case that I'm talking about because you see it with celebrities and musicians and athletes and pastors and politicians and just wealthy men in general, right? With beloved community figures. We just can't believe it. And the image is the first line of defense. That's the point, right? Diddy denied Cassie allegations, right? And then hotel surveillance footage surfaces. He's assaulting her and then he apologized. I'm never going to forget that Andy Savage publicly called what happened with him and a 17-year-old girl a sexual incident. The way we just soften these things because these guys have public images is crazy to me, right? Makes it sound so much softer. It was just an incident. That's not what it was, right? So I know these examples are different and there's different legal contexts and all of this in different systems, but the pattern around the image is what I want you to see. A respected man gets a softer story and the woman gets an even harder interrogation. Now, institutions protect themselves first. We know that. And the patriarchy is not an exception here. Royal families protect the monarchy, churches protect the ministry, studios protect the investment, and political parties will protect the candidate. It's how it works, right? That's the same reason that families protect the family name. Fans protect their fantasy of who the celebrity is. So victims are really inconvenient because they're saying something that you don't want to believe. I always wonder, the women who go to Chris Brown concerts, what is it that you tell yourself? That it wasn't that bad, that he didn't mean it, or that it didn't affect you? That he gets to live his life, still making money, still being adored by fans, despite the fact that he beat the crap out of multiple women. The truth would damage the story, embarrass the family, threaten donations, cancel the show, hurt the campaign, expose the leadership. The list is endless. But what do we do with the woman who threatens the image, right? We doubt her, we make her smaller, we silence her, we exhaust her, we ruin her. But the thing is, the public really loves this troubled man story, right? The high status man harms a woman and then people sort of rush to this troubled man. He struggled and, he was using substances and he's got PR teams that are going to come up with this whole story of why he did what he did. Your average man may not have the benefit of that, but he still has the benefit of the image. And the truth is, your average man benefits from the stories that these wealthy and powerful men spin because the narrative is the same. The public narratives become the same ones that these tired, broke, everyday average men are still benefiting from. A troubled man, even if he is one, which I don't think that most of them are, they can still be dangerous. A sad man can still be an abusive man, and his suffering and what he's been through does not cancel the fact that he made her suffer and he did something awful to her. Both things can be true and his can be inexcusable. But abuse thrives when people can't imagine the accused actually doing it. Like the whole Kevin, I can't imagine. Oh my God, he's never treated me that way. I've never seen Steve yell. I just can't imagine Brian acting that way. Yeah, that's why image is so powerful because abuse needs disbelief. It's part of it, right? You can't just believe it. Of course not. But abuse benefits from people saying, I just can't see it. I can't picture it. Of course you can't. It's almost like they do it alone and in private so that you don't think that of them. It's almost like they want to get away with it. Weird. You keep seeing the version that's designed for public consumption. And honestly, I'm not going to skip past the fact that so many people will say to women, you didn't see it. You didn't see that he lied. You should have known he was lying. You didn't know he was lying either. You're literally openly still falling for it as you defend perpetrators of abuse. If I'm stupid for believing it, what does that make you? You're just looking at but he was always nice to me and thinking that that's real. But that version might be incomplete. Of course he's nice to you. You're not his wife. You're not his girlfriend, right? Even the women around them, the women who are I can't imagine it because you're not his wife. These men who are abusive reserve this treatment for behind closed doors. They believe that they should have authority, power, control, and dominance over their female romantic partners and their children. Being a good man to you doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he wasn't safe to her. Why is that so hard to understand? And victims know that they're up against this image, right? They know that they're not just up against the man. It's up against his friends and family and his lawyers and his reputation and how people see him, right? That's why reporting is harder and speaking is harder, coming forward and actually saying what really happened, because there's so much public scrutiny over the woman saying what happened. So she is threatening this story, this narrative, this sort of false life that he's built, and other people are attached to it, and people will defend that viciously, not realizing that they are also falling for it. A royal connection doesn't make a man safe. A famous name doesn't make him safe. The good family man, his job, his career, religion, nothing. Him speaking softly, him seeming nice, a room full of people protecting him also doesn't make him safe. Safety is shown in the behavior, okay? In boundaries and consent and empathy and respect and all of these things. The ability to hear no, the ability to tolerate consequences, to treat women as fully human when no one is watching. That's what matters. So this case matters. This Marius Borg Høiby case matters because it forces people to look at the status of these abusive men. Maybe they're near royal, maybe they have a public image, maybe they're a politician, a family man, a nice guy in your community. It doesn't matter, right? It's something that people recognize. We all have to start looking at what the evidence is showing us. There is a pattern of wealthy, powerful men and men who seem kind that often turn out to be abusive. And we all go, I'm so shocked. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked. Powerful men have enough people protecting their image. I will never get on that bandwagon, and I will never give rich, powerful men or kind men the benefit of the doubt. Oftentimes, status just makes more people willing to protect the image. The more polished, the more connected, talented, famous, or kind, people think that it's just unimaginable that he's capable of harm. But victims are expected to be perfect. We expect perfection, perfect memory, perfect timing, tone, the exact amount of evidence that's needed, the way that she presents emotionally. Somehow women have to be the perfect victim, and the man gets to benefit off his image. The pattern is everywhere. The good guy that everyone loves and the man with the family name, the man that people can't imagine doing it. Subscribe if you're not already, and if you're trying to understand abuse by men who look respectable and they're more covert, they're charming, successful, or publicly loved, take my Trauma Bond Recovery Program. You can join me in She Rises Collective as well, which is my community for women survivors of domestic violence and abuse, where we're doing amazing work to heal and rebuild. I co-host that with Shelly Pumphrey. Thanks so much for joining. Catch you in the next video.